Good afternoon to all of you. So before I start, so how many of you are planning for 2024? 25 वाले भी हैं? Okay. So in our this open session, we are going to discuss three things. The first important thing is why one should choose political science as an optional subject. Second important thing, we are going to discuss about how much time, what strategy we should follow it to score nearly about 300 plus. And third, what is going to be my approach to deal with political science. Now the first important thing, why political science? Why political science as optional? First important thing, optional itself is a very important in the entire design of civil services. The reason being is, it is one of the low hanging fruit. If you check out those who are into the services, their score in optional, specifically on top rank, is always 280, 290 plus or 300. Let's see like this. Out of 500, one can score near about 300. Just think of this. But if you want to score same in general studies paper, so one general studies paper is of 250, 250, 250 and 250. For this, scoring 220, 230 is considered to be very good score. It's considered to be very good score. And you can find out the time of preparation which is required for optional subject is max 5 months. So even if you're going for more than 6-7 months, it is like you are compromising with your general studies and you are investing more time to gain basically. Imagine 5 months out of 500, something near about 300. That is why we call it low hanging fruit. One can easily score, and I'm not talking about only political science optional, in any of the optional, this is low hanging. But when we talk about political science, so there are certain additional feature, and what that additional feature is, like general studies. If you check out political science and general studies convergence, you can find out a lot of convergence are there. In general studies, paper 2, where you have to study polity section, where you have to study international relations section, that all you are going to get in pol science paper 2. Even in general studies 3, internal security, there are a lot of topics are going to be common in your political science. How it is? I'll give the reference of the few questions also. Like once in internal security part, this question has been asked, how Bangladesh has been formed. So in international relations, when we discuss India-Bangladesh relationship, we start with the idea how in 1971 Bangladesh has been formed. What was the Indian role? And we also discuss, this is the beauty of this subject, we also discuss, we just formed Bangladesh, or there were certain strategic intention of India to form Bangladesh. Then you realize we want that on our eastern front. If you remember the India's map, on the eastern front, we want a friendly state. Imagine if Bangladesh would have been part of the Pakistan, even today, so what would have been our position in that entire, you can say, area, specifically to that particular sea around Andaman Island, that all will be filled with the Chinese warships and Pakistani troops. So it was not just we created a Bangladesh because a national movement was going in Bangladesh, but we created Bangladesh because it has a range of security implication for the entire South Asia. So now this in-depth analysis, I guess it is difficult to get in paper 3. In internal security, when we read about it, there is a general reading and understanding. But when you study in political science, you will find out your depthness of your knowledge is going to be quite high. This is just one example I have given. In General Studies paper 3, you can find out like this internal security is there. Even in GS paper 1, I guess if you have seen paper 1 syllabus, then you will find out there are ideologies in your General Studies paper 1. There is a Marxism, socialism. These are the topic, a separate topic in political science. But again, I am saying, if you are with understanding, reading those ideologies, your understanding is going to be very general and many technical points you may miss. But if you are studying in political science, you need not to study it separately. There are many issues which is actually called social issues, like issues related to women, issues related to poverty, and topic of feminism, challenges to the women, global concern like women movement, democracy. That is all part of the political science. So even in general studies also, lot of convergence you can find. And when it comes to the GS4 में क्या है? Ethics. In ethics also you can find there is a discussion about values. There is a discussion about Western political thinkers also. Without Aristotle and Plato, ethics paper cannot get completed. And this is the first 2 thinker in your political science as a subject. In fact, I remember 3 years back there was a one question in your ethics paper discuss about the Rawlsian theory of justice, not in political science, it was in ethics. And Rawlsian theory of justice and its communitarian critique, this is a topic mentioned in political science. Apart from that, there is a one more topic in ethics, which I guess sometimes we missed these topics, or we are not able to focus it properly. Like there is a ethics of international institutions. So what should be the ideal role of United Nations, international organization? This is the part of ethics I am talking about, but that is also part of political science. So if somebody study political science properly, then you can find that in general studies it is going to help a lot. So when I say it is a low hanging fruit, so just studying political science is not all about 500 marks. It is going to help you out to score in GS. Obviously you need to follow a proper strategy, that how you can you can say complement your preparation of political science and general studies. But this convergence is there. But the most important thing I always speak about it basically, and this feedback I got from many of my students who appeared for the interview. They say ki, sir, in interview cannot be completed without international relations. And you hardly get time of 20 seconds or 30 seconds to answer in front of the board members. And sometimes it is a typical question of interview, like what is Indian stand in Ukrainian crisis? Do you think that its approach is correct of India? Recently the Pakistan crisis was there. Should India attack over Pakistan? Should take India advantage of the crisis of Pakistan? Or should we move out to help Pakistan? Now such questions in 20 seconds. That is tough. You may be able to answer, but we do not know how it has been taken, how it has been marked. So I find recently there are a lot of students, even who were not finally selected, they send me in interview, they got 195, 190, and they give the credit that their in-depth knowledge of political science helped them a lot to answer questions related to international relations in the given time framework and in more dimensions basically. So when we talk about political science, apart from that, it has a capacity to score 300 plus. Lot of students score this 300 plus and they easily get rank. Apart from that, it is quite helpful in your general studies, including your interview part. That is why I say that it is a special low hanging fruit when we prepare for the civil services. Now, apart from these technical points, there is a one more question. A lot of students have this query in their mind. Ki, I never had the background of political science. Would I be able to study political science? Sometimes it gives us impression, a lot of political thinkers are there. It gives this impression, we may need to study bilateral relationship with many of the countries. So this is I'm focusing on here. If you see political science, it has two papers. In paper 1, section A is of basically Western political thought or thinkers. Political theory and Indian political thought. This is section 1. Now question is that, would I be able to study it easily? First important thing when we talk about Indian political thought, to whom you have to study in Indian political thought? Gandhi ji, Dr. Ambedkar. That is technically in the studies also you should be able to know. As a historical figure, the question may emerge from these thinkers basically. And just quoting two. Apart from that, from ancient political thinkers, Kautilya, Chanakya, these names are not completely unaware. We are aware about this, we know certain basics and will be able to easily relate with them. This is what point is that in this section, it is not tough to learn. The reason being is that specifically this political theory part and this IPT part is easy to understand. We are already aware in some impression, and that is also going to help you in the other part too. Although in Western political thought we may face, I'm not saying challenge, but definitely we need to give time to study it properly. Like when we talk about Plato, Aristotle, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau. But again I would say that lot of thinkers are very much related with the contemporary phenomena. Specifically when I talk about Hobbes onward thinkers, they all are easily relatable with the modern phenomena. And political theory part, like if you talk about power, this is, you are going to find it very interesting. When you're going to talk about justice, again in your ethics part, you should have a broader knowledge of justice. If you talk about in ideology like feminism, Gandhism, when you cannot find the things that you are not aware and it is not relatable. You'll always find that the things are there to whom which can you easily relate. And that is why it doesn't look like a alien subject. It doesn't look like a alien subject. Now when it comes to this part, B section, that is IGP, Indian Government and Politics. I'll just tell you the three sections of this. One section of the IGP is purely related to national movement. I guess this national movement topic are related to Gandhian strategy, is related to the Indian modern history, specifically after 1919 to the major incident up to the 1947. वैसे ही आपको मॉडर्न इंडिया में सारी चीजें पढ़ने. Just imagine this, कि if you are studying it in modern India, or you are studying it over here and value adding it with the modern Indian side. So here also you will get a, I would say, a political dimension of those events. In fact, in national movement there is a one more topic, and that is very interesting topic, that the perspectives of the national movement. Perspective of the national movement, I'm just taking one perspective, like Marxist perspective of the national movement. How Marxists were looking into Indian national movement. It will help you to understand what are the political strategies of the Marxist political parties even in post-Indian era. This is not a disconnected idea. If you talk about Dalit perspective, you can find out how Dalit scholars perceived Indian national movement and how long their agendas has been incorporated in the Indian constitution, and how come in post-India their movement was going on. That is a separate topic, social movement also. So lot of interlinking is there, and the convergence with the rest of the subject is there. Now the second part of the IGP is mainly related to the constitution portion, where president, parliament, role of governor, what we study in polity, everything you are going to get it over here. I mean, that's why I say that it is a complete convergence with the paper 2. So here also, what you study here, that is going to help you in your general studies. And in general studies, what you help, it is going to reinforce here also. In terms of, in general studies, our focus is more about knowing clauses, provision, and facts. And here, our focus is more about conceptual understanding, their implication in Indian society, Indian politics, now club both. Then you will be good in factual part as well as you are understanding the conceptual dimension of this. I'll take one example, like federalism is there. So when you study political science in federalism, so it's not about just what are the components of the federalism. You understand why India adopted federalism. Can we say Indian federalism is successful or failure? Or what else should be part of that? What are the recommendations of this different commission? And when you study in GS, we study it more in form of center-state relationship, and we know about the clauses. Now you club both. You get a holistic vision of that topic. That is going to help you to write your PSIR answer, general studies mains answer, as well as in general studies prelims. And if I say third part of the IGP section is about politics. Let me identify few topic of it. I call it politics because here we are going to study about, I'm just mentioning one topic, Indian political parties. एक टॉपिक ही है आपको, इंडियन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज. आप में से ऐसा कौन होगा जिसको नहीं पता है कांग्रेस, बीजेपी, बीएसपी, समाजवादी पार्टी, आरजेडी? This is what we have to study. This is one topic, Indian political parties, in which we have to discuss origin, their strategy, their social base, their role in Indian politics. I mean, if there is a topic, criminalization, I mean, that is a general topic and everybody know about criminalization. There is a one topic, coalition government in Indian politics. Who is not knowing about coalition politics in coalition government in Indian politics? Profiling of, there is a separate topic, profiling of Indian legislature. If I make a one line in that, there is around 33% of the Indian legislators having cases against them. I guess you can name 2-3 कि okay, और बिना पढ़े आप ऐसे ही बता दोगे कि यार ये लोग हैं. These are the topics. These are the topics you have to study in these part. That is why lot of students take the advantage of this, I say in negative way. They don't study it at all. They just focus on the Indian constitution and they believe they'll be able to do IGP anyhow because they have a good knowledge of the constitution. But I would say that if you focus little bit more here, then your score, that the general score is like if 270, 280, you'll be able to score more than 300. So all the topics here, it is all relatable. I mean, not a single topic I would say. It is all relatable that is related to, let me tell more topic, caste system, secularism. I mean, ये contemporary debates के part हैं, and that is all mentioned over here. So when you study optional subject, then it look like that there is nothing we do not know. What we'll do over here, we'll organize it properly. We'll give name to certain theories, उसको हम नाम दे देंगे, जैसे rational choice theory का नाम दे दिया. And I'll let you know name of the few scholars. तो basic phenomena का आपको idea है, facts का idea है, उसको हमने थोड़ा organize कर दिया, 2-3 thinkers के नाम आपको बता दिए, उनकी किताबों के नाम बता दिए, आपका topic तैयार. This become easy for, if someone is really interested कि यार इसको पढ़ करके इसमें भी score हमको high करना. Otherwise, subject continued for a long time. You can talk to your senior. There are many of them. They rarely study IGP. But I suggest that, strongly say that if you study IGP, your score is 15-20 marks are going to be extra, and it is a high convergence with the John studies part. And there is nothing which is not relatable. आपको एक टॉपिक की 50% इंफॉर्मेशन तो ऐसी होगी, यू आर कनेक्टेड विद दैट इंफॉर्मेशन इन एनी मोड बेसिकली. एंड द मेन थिंग व्हाट वी डू इन द क्लास is organizing those topics. Talking about, you may not be knowing who has written best book on caste. This is what I'm going to tell. And name the scholar who has written it basically. This is what the extra. Rest of the things you can get it. Now, when it comes to paper 2, and I personally believe the key to score high, where one can score 300 plus, is PSIR paper 2. That is international theory paper and international relations का applied part. If I'll take few of my students जिनका record आज तक है, there was one of my student, Rishabh Mandal, his score was 325 in political science. And in paper 2, his score was 171. His score was 171 in just paper 2. And it is not he, I mean, there was a one girl, 44th rank. Her score in paper 2 was similarly somehow 165. And those who focus in that area, their score easily go up to 150 plus. But this is again one of the most ignored area. Why I would say ignored area? Because those who have studied in their college are, if you talk to your seniors, they'll find that people are devoting more time to study this part. But from a strategic point of view, every section is having 125 marks, and your target is to score high to get into the service. This balance has to be maintained. This balance has to be maintained. And in this, we study in paper 2A, we study, I'll just divided it into 3 different streams. One is key term and IR theories. The other is comparative politics. And the third you can find out global concern. And this 2B part is, इसका टॉपिक का नाम है इंडिया एंड वर्ल्ड. इंडिया एंड वर्ल्ड. What I do when I teach India and world, I divide it in first topic, that is technically making of Indian foreign policy. Making of Indian foreign policy. In this topic of making of Indian foreign policy, we discuss basic element of Indian foreign policy, institutions engage in foreign policy making, for example, role of parliament, role of PMO, role of NSA, role of think tanks, कि what type of role they play over here. इसमें एक चीज आपके syllabus में नहीं है, but I teach in my class various foreign policies during different times, like what was Nehruvian foreign policy, what was Indira foreign policy, in 90s the changing nature of the Indian foreign policy, and either it is a look east or look west. We discuss all these foreign policy in this making of the Indian foreign policy. The second part is basically of it is India's bilateral relations. Bilateral relations. This is an important part, but again here one myth is there I want to clarify. I'll take a new page for this. When it comes to India's bilateral relations, this confusion is there. Okay, there are almost 195 countries. Do we need to study relationship with all those 195 countries? Answer is very simple. Hardly you need to go for 10 to 15. ये भी मैंने ज़्यादा बोल दिया. 10 to 15. Check out 10-year question paper. They never went beyond. Now there is a logic. ये illogical नहीं है. There is a logic. If you check into deep, overall India's foreign policy towards the world, then in our foreign policy also, there are certain reason and areas flashes at the first point. If I would say you, can you rank the number one area which flashes in the Indian foreign policy? Can you rank the number two area in the Indian foreign policy? If I say, okay, Latin America holds very big importance in Indian foreign policy than the Indian Ocean region, वो तो हो नहीं सकता. That is incorrect. So actually, the way Indian foreign policy is designed, you'll find out you have to study in a similar line. There will be South Asian countries are very much important for India. So we are going to study India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka. Now, when it comes to India-Africa relationship, we are not going to study India, Tanzania, or India, Congo. That is only India-Africa relationship. You know why? Because Indian policy towards Africa, एक ही term use करूँगा, it is multilateral in nature. We are more focusing dealing the entire Africa in a multilateral way. Multilateral का मतलब होता है एक साथ, rather than in bilateral. Bilateral का मतलब होता है when you deal one to one. Indian foreign policy towards Africa is having a multilateral approach. That is why there is a IAFS. IAFS एक African organization है. There is a India-Africa Union relationship. अभी हम conference करते हैं तो क्या होगा? We are organizing the conference together rather than there is a, in fact, you will find out if there is a visit of the Indian Prime Minister or President in Africa, वो एक देश में कभी नहीं जाते हैं. Check out last 5-7. अब इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वे अफ्रीका गए हैं तो सोच रहे हैं बाकी जगह घूम के आ जाएं. This is not the idea. It is just because the foreign policy is multilateral. So they will visit to 4-5 countries in one go. लेकिन ऐसा तो नहीं होता कि पाकिस्तान गए तो फिर वहाँ श्रीलंका चले जाते हैं. If our visit it to Sri Lanka, that remain confined to the Sri Lanka. But check out in case of Africa, either Prime Minister or President, anyone go, in that visit at least 3 countries are going to be. And in fact, I would like to highlight also, when Indian Prime Minister is going to visit, he is going to visit mainly in the Eastern African part. And there is a reason for this. That shares a boundary with the Indian Ocean region. The maritime importance of the East African state is very high in overall Indian foreign policy. So always visit to these countries are going to be very exclusive. If you decipher, okay, what is overall Indian foreign policy is there, you can easily land कि what are the countries we have to study. एक और example देख सकते हैं. If you have to study India, West Asia, West Asia में इतने देश हैं, लेकिन I would say that India, Iran, India, Israel, max India, Saudi Arabia. Why? Because these are the leaders and our focal point is only with these 3 countries. African context में तो कहूँगा कि इंडिया की एम्बेसी भी नहीं है सारे अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज में, अभी उन्होंने इनिशिएटिव लिया है. अदरवाइज 5 देशों के लिए एक ही कनेक्टिंग पॉइंट बना रखा था. नाउ दे आर गोइंग इनटू ओपनिंग एम्बेसी in every African country. और वेस्ट एशिया में भी आपको ये समझ में आएगा कि okay, most of the visit are going to be these 2 countries or with one more countries like UAE, because the trade relation with UAE is relatively very high. You hardly find out Indian visit to some of the small West Asian countries are there, are you can say bilateral relationship with them. And why it is so? Because in Indian foreign policy paradigm, this Israel is centrally placed, Iran is placed, and Saudi Arabia is placed. So you need not to study beyond these 3 when we are going to study about West Asia. मैं और ऐड कर देता हूँ और आप इसको एग्जामिन भी कर सकते हैं पुराने 5-7 साल के क्वेश्चन से. Like for every area, foreign policy is also centered around the certain work. When I'm saying certain work, I'm just trying to tell you कि it's not like we deal all the states and region in a uniform way. Every region holds importance for us for the various reasons. Let's take one example. If I say India's energy security, so the way West Asia is placed in India's energy security, Europe is not placed in India's energy security because they have a huge oil deposits. We need a lot of oil, and India's growth, India's being powerful, highly dependent on the energy. So when we are going to deal with this country, one of the core foreign policy agenda is going to be oil. कोई भी visit आज तक हुई है, उसका जो central point of talk है, that is going to be oil. We'll always look forward that we can get the more oil. We'll be always look forward that we can get the strategic oil reserve. उसके बाद अब वो सब oil बेचते हैं, so they have a huge money. हम कहते हैं petrodollars. उनका जो foreign reserve है वो बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो हमको लगता है हमारे यहाँ invest कर दें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है. So we look forward towards them if they can invest in India. You can't make the same strategy for the Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives. They are not centered around the idea that they will invest in India. They have a more geographical importance for India, I would say geostrategic and geopolitical, because of their locations. That is not connected with when it comes to the all West Asian countries. So if you are able to decipher this difference of the foreign policy, you already know कि Israel में पूछेगा India-Israel defense relationship. If you check out that, the bulk part or the central or focal part of India-Israel relationship is related to the security. तो वो आपसे India-Israel energy security नहीं पूछने जा रहा है. तो आप बहुत अच्छे से define करके पढ़ सकते हैं कि इसके साथ पढ़ना है, and that is what the core area is there. So when you properly design this entire part, so I would say number of countries are going to be limited, and area of cooperation. This area of cooperation is also going to be very much limited. अब आप इन दिनों को मिला दें तो हो सकता है कि हम इंडिया वेस्ट एशिया पढ़ रहे हों, तो इन इंडिया वेस्ट एशिया we are studying about Israel, Iran and Saudi Arabia. In case of Israel, we are more focusing on defense. In Iran and Saudi Arabia are more focused on trade and oil and investment. So you'll be very focused कि okay, that is the area we have to hit, and that is why it is less to prepare and high to score. अब इसमें दिक्कत क्या होती है कि फ्लैटली लोग पढ़ते हैं इंडिया पाकिस्तान रिलेशनशिप, तो ए से स्टार्ट करके जेट, बट दैट इज नॉट द वे, बिकॉज even government of India plays every region as per their importance in Indian foreign policy. You might have heard Indian Prime Minister visited and signed this agreement. ऐसा नहीं होता है कि वो उसी दिन लैंड किए और उसी दिन एग्रीमेंट पे बात हो गई. वो पिछले 6 महीने से 1 साल से उस पर काम चलता रहता है. तो हम स्ट्रेटेजाइज करते हैं कि इनसे हमारा कौन सा काम बन सकता है. वैसे वो भी स्ट्रेटेजाइज करते हैं कि ओके व्हाट वी कैन गेट इट फ्रॉम इंडिया, एंड व्हेन वी कम ऑन द सेम टेबल it is designed in form of a treaty or agreement which is formally announced by our Prime Minister or any of the authority. So this is very much true. You can easily anticipate ki what we are looking in China, what we are looking in Australia. We cannot think that ki Australia humko oil dega. We can think uranium de sakta, highest deposit of uranium is there. And we are looking forward to nuclear energy. That's what the importance of the Australia is. And we find out ki as this Indo-Pacific region is a very important area where China is trying to assert, they could be our friends and collaborators. We can't think about the same thing in case of Europe. My point is this, it is very logical. अगर scientific नहीं कहेंगे, but it is very logical and pinpointed. But for all these things, you should be knowing in and out of the foreign policy. Then it become very easy to score. और मजेदार बात है कि this topic of the 2B is closely linked with the 2A also, जिसमें हमने कहा key terms and IR theories. Just giving one example, समझाने के लिए केवल, जैसे IR theories में हमको पढ़ना है एक theory realism. अब realism का जो example होगा वो यहीं से होगा. Realism का मतलब होता है where state is centered around their own interest. They look forward to fulfill only their own interest. So when we deal with Pakistan or when we deal with China, our paradigm to deal with them is a realism. But that is not the case when we deal with the Bhutan. You can find out India provides lot of support to the Bhutan. पढ़ते ना इतना हमने इनको दिया, अगर उनके यहाँ कोई ट्रेजिडी हो गई तो ढेर सारे पैसे दिए. So and we also invest in that country. What is the basic purpose of this? Because our approach to that country is not centered around realism, but actually on the other parameters like liberalism. What I'm trying to tell you guys, whatever you study the theories, its application you can find out in 2B. They are highly interconnected with. एक और example ले लेते हैं, जैसे key terms में एक टर्म, ऐसे ऐसे टर्म्स ले रहा हूं जिसके बारे में सबको आइडिया होगा. अगर मैं कहूं बैलेंस ऑफ पावर, कुछ तो दिमाग में आता होगा, एकदम एलियन वर्ड तो नहीं लगता होगा. व्हाट इज बैलेंस ऑफ पावर? बहुत सिंपल तरीके से ये भी समझ में आता है, वन पावर इज ट्राइंग टू बैलेंस अनदर पावर. सो नाउ देयर इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट आपको पढ़ना है, कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ बैलेंस ऑफ पावर. सो इन बैलेंस ऑफ पावर व्हाट एग्जांपल्स could be chosen? So if I would say that India's approach in Indo-Pacific region is specifically aligning with US, Japan, Australia is a strategy of soft balancing to the China. ये लाइन सबको समझ में आई जो मैंने बोली? That's simple and easy line. ये हम theoretical part पढ़ेंगे theories में, what is balance of power system. लेकिन जिसका हम applied part पढ़ेंगे वो हम पढ़ेंगे यहाँ पर. So both are actually interrelated and integrated part. And I'm telling you, if there is a 5-month course, this both paper can be easily completed in 2 months. And look at the number 250 marks. If imagine if you go with the highest score of 170, 2 महीने की preparation में how much you can score. That is what the beauty of this subject is there. But definitely there should be correct approach to deal with this one. So that's why I say this is a low hanging fruit where you can score easily. And I believe that nobody is unaware of the terms what was I was using. Maybe you are not aware of the technical dimension of it. But in a general study, in a general way, if I say balance of power, उसमें कौन कौन से terms मैं कुछ नाम लेता हूँ. National interest एक जनरल आइडिया है, एलियन टर्म नहीं है आपके लिए. तो मैं आपको थोड़ा टेक्निकल पार्ट में बताऊंगा कि नेशनल इंटरेस्ट इज नॉट रिलेटेड ओनली विद द सिक्योरिटी, इट इज रिलेटेड विद द इकोनॉमिक wealth also. That is easy to understand. There is another topic, balance of power system. There is another topic, national security, key terms पढ़ना है. अब national security, if I am saying that, again it is not an alien word. So maybe you should know that in national security it is not only securing our border. National security includes human security, environmental security, some other aspect of the national security is there. लेकिन ये तीनों term यही है national security में. ये तीनों term आपके लिए alien नहीं है. You won't feel that you have to put a lot of effort to understand. जो चीज़ आपकी आंखों के सामने से आपके कानों में बार बार जाती रहती है and you have to read at a subject, it become easy to pick it basically. In entire PSIR syllabus, you can easily connect, and I believe that around 70% of theories and terms, in general sense, you are acquainted with that. You are acquainted with that. So its preparation time is, I would say, 5 months is ideal and it is enough. And you can connect with the topics. Now one more important thing I would like to discuss here. It is important in that way also कि in paper 1, if you go back here, political theories, Western political thought, Indian political thought and ideologies, it will help you to understand the things from various ideological perspective also. Okay, suppose you think towards a issue from one perspective, but once you study Marxism, then you see कि okay, the same problem has been perceived by Marxist in a very different way. कभी कभी हम लोगों को normal time में लगता है अच्छा ये ऐसा क्यों बात कर रहे हैं और ये ऐसी बात क्यों कर रहे हैं, and we think that कि इन दोनों में से सही कौन सा है. When you study the various perspective, then you will realize it that there is no universal fact in that. This is the way of seeing and perception of the things, and that come from your ideological perception. So overall it will help you, in general, it will help you to understand any of the issue, any of the topic from multiple perspective. जैसे मैं दो example देता हूँ, जैसे caste system ही है. So from Marxist perspective, caste will be analyzed in more exploitative way. From liberal perspective, it will be analyzed more as a social challenge. And the solution will come from both in a different way. My point is this, that this subject on one hand will give you a holistic understanding of any topic or subject. So it is going to enhance your personality also in a longer term. Last thing about this subject is basically, once you finish your preparation, some of maybe into service, maybe कुछ लोगों का ना भी कभी हो, तो जो चीज़ आपको पूरी लाइफ याद रहने वाली है वो आपके जीएस के सब्जेक्ट नहीं याद रहने वाला है, because optional is going to, and most of the time I find कि if people go for alternative careers तो वो उसके अराउंड ही सर्च करते हैं जिस पे उनकी डेप्थ नॉलेज हो. So reading, studying a subject in a wide perspective, in an in-depth manner, is always going to help you. In that sense, I am saying that this subject is easy to score, this subject is easy to understand, this subject is easy to prepare. This subject is easy to prepare. That is why I say this is one of the best optional. अब आखिरी में ये UPSC का डेटा है, ये मेरा डेटा नहीं है. In 2021, UPSC has published from political science 154 candidates has been recommended. Imagine, out of 900, 154, highest number from any of the optional. If you start from 2016 to 2021, most of the time, maximum number of the candidates has been recommended from this subject only. Around, you know, in total number around 13 to 17% number of candidates recommended by. कुछ तो वजह होगी, और ये मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. रैंक्स स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 1 रैंक, 10 साल में ही आप लोगों ने 2 फर्स्ट रैंक देख लिया इस ऑप्शनल से. एंड इन टॉप 100 देयर इज ऑलवेज 20-25 students from this optional. So again, our target is to go into the service. That is what our prime target is. If you get a subject which is easy to understand, easy to prepare, easy to connect, helping you to score high, high convergence with general studies, there is no point left why we should not go for this optional. Fine guys. So now we'll talk about what is my approach, how I teach and how I make you complete. So before this, many of you may not be knowing me. My name is Dr. Piyush Chaubey. I did my master's, MPhil, PhD from JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and I was teaching in Delhi University for a long time, and then I shifted to teach political science as an optional subject. Now when it comes to my approach, first important thing, I believe that balance is very much important. When I refer balance, I refer the idea this is paper 1, this is paper 2. Balance among all these 4 sections has to be there. You cannot spend 50-60% of time over here, in rest of the 50% prepare 3, because the division of the marks for all the section is almost equal. You may strategize कि I'll do 3 questions from here and 2 questions from here, 3 questions from here and 2 questions from here. You may strategize it. That is very much possible. But when it comes to giving the time, this balance is very much important. In my course, as I said that, this 5 month, maybe plus minus 10-15 days, and almost around 35 to 40% of the time, max I'm talking about for paper 1. And I divide almost, इनमें थोड़ा कम होता है because syllabus is relatively less. IR का syllabus और IGP का syllabus थोड़ा छोटा है, थोड़ा कम time. But more time to this. But that is not going to be in a disbalanced way. Second important thing, as I said that, time limit. This is why important. Personally, I believe it is a very important thing. Because input and output should be in a ratio. If I teach it for 7-8 months, so I'm pushing you to the next attempt. You're going to, face trouble in your this prelims also if I'll continue. That is why this 5 month plus minus 15 days max. Now, apart from this, I believe for any of the optional subject, specifically for political science, 3 elements has to be core of it. First is reading, retention, and writing. Without this, scoring high is almost impossible. So let's come to this first part. How in my classroom program, I focus on the idea of reading. That is more in form of lecture. Means it is me who is going to deliver lecture format. In lecture, there will be, जैसे अभी मैं बना रहा हूँ, the lecture is going to be mostly in form of diagram, flow chart, and mind map. What I'm going to make you write inside the class. So the combination of the class is going to form of a lecture and class notes. But here, more weightage to the lecture and less weightage to the class. Means that in 3 hours class, there will be around 2 hours of lecture and 1 hour of class notes. So technically, this micro notes is more than enough. Micro notes and class notes are more than enough basically to write any of the answer. Apart from that, there will be printed notes. Now, if it is over there, then why I give printed notes? Printed notes are elaborative discussions over the topic, which you may not be able to write or incorporate into your answer. This is that you can directly write in the answer. But elaborative discussion from the various views. This printed notes has been made looking into the all popular and important book, borrowing their core content. We made this printed book. So if after completing this, if you still feel कि थोड़ा इस टॉपिक पे हम और पढ़ लेते, तो आपको कोई किताब पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. जो भी 4-5 पॉपुलर किताबें हैं, their gist has been already taken in my printed book. There will be 5 booklets. of printed notes. In 5 booklets, there will be 1 booklet related to Western political thinkers and theory, 1 will be related to Indian political thinkers plus theorists. 1 is on comparative politics, so 3 books here, 1 on IGP and 1 is on IR. So this way your reading get completed. Your reading get completed. आपको material के format में you are never going to lack anything. Everything which is available, it has been already given here. Now when it comes to the retention, this is very important part. Retention मतलब आपको बात याद रह जाए. When classes are less, तब तक तो ठीक लगता है. जहाँ 4 महीने classes के गुजर गए, तो लगता है वो जो पुराना पढ़ा है, वो गया. तो retention is very important. And I'm telling you, imagine you're writing mains in your first attempt and you have completed your optional somehow by October and November. तो अब आप प्री देंगे और मेंस लिखेंगे, उसमें कम से कम 5 महीने का गैप है. और जो पहला टॉपिक पढ़ा होगा तो 3 महीने पहले और पढ़ा हुआ है. हाउ दिस रिटेंशन इज गोइंग ऑन. कभी कभी तो सम स्टूडेंट कम एंड डिस्कस कि सर वो 8 महीने तक तो हम पढ़ ही रहे थे और पहला टॉपिक खत्म हुए 8 महीने, मेंस लिखने में 1 साल का गैप हो गया, लग रहा है कुछ पढ़ा ही नहीं है हमने. That is why retention is very important. Now, how we go for this retention? Retention के लिए we have 2 important strategy basically. The first important strategy for this retention is that once I'll finish a topic, there is discussions of PYQs over those topics. क्लास में तो हम रेगुलर करते हैं, ये स्पेसिफिक क्लास होती है. जैसे हमने प्लेटो खत्म किया, तो प्लेटो पर आज तक जितने सवाल पूछे गए हैं उसमें हम PYQs को डिस्कस करते हैं. और क्या करते हैं, विल मेक यू राइट 2 क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर, एंड फॉर द रेस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन वी आर गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड यू स्ट्रक्चर, नॉट आंसर, स्ट्रक्चर. नाउ यू हैव टू कंप्लीट बाय योर ओन वे fulfilling that structure. If you follow this strategy, you cannot imagine once our course get completed, you will have the compilation of 500 questions, जिसमें कम से कम 100-150 हमने लिखवाए होंगे, बाकी आपने लिखे होंगे basically. So that also works and complementary notes. सोचिए 500 questions through all the topics. But again इसमें थोड़ी मेहनत आपको करनी पड़ेगी इस PYQs के लिए, और probable questions की भी एक लिस्ट रहती है. We provide you. Second thing, we encourage it, but initially students are very interested, लेकिन बाद में नहीं होता है. Normally once we start our class, थोड़ा आगे बढ़ गए हैं, 2-4 टॉपिक खत्म हो गए हैं, and you can write in 1 page or 2 page. I always encourage to the students, please do write and submit it to me. Either me or associate faculty with me or people from my team, they'll be engaged in checking your answers over there. So this way you are going to retain it. This way you are going to retain it completely. अगर आपने इतना कर लिया तो आपको लगातार याद रहेगा. And when it comes to the writing, there is a test series which is available to all of my students. ये कैसे होती है? Suppose we are studying paper 1A. So once we'll complete half of the topic, 50% of the topic of the one way, there will be one proper classroom test. And this is how, once we complete rest of the part, so for every section there will be 2 tests. Overall 8 tests will be organized, just to ensure that you will be able to practice this. देखिए राइटिंग के लिए इसके पहले हम इस पे फोकस क्यों करते हैं? The reason being is that कितना भी आप पढ़ लीजिए, you should be very good in content, but whenever you are going to write, you are going to face the challenge. That is what the biggest thing is. Nobody can learn writing, answer writing in just one shot. It is a gradual process when a student learn. कोई ऐसा दिन नहीं आएगा कि आप एक दिन बैठे और परफेक्ट आंसर लिख लें. That is a regular and the gradual process. So if you are not going to engage in it, then at the time of mains writing, you are going to face a lot of trouble. Let me give you a very practical example. People who score even 280, 290 become IPS, for example, and they are repeating again examination, they join test series. Why the toppers are joining test series? Even they are into the services and their score is 270, 280. The reason being, practice is a consistent phenomena, and every time questions are very different. So maybe in some time they are asking about descriptive type questions, maybe sometime there 2-3 question is related to critical examine, sometime they ask about the relevance. So you should be inconsistently practicing basically of all the answers. तो फिर वही बात है, अगर आप थ्रू आउट द ईयर प्रैक्टिस नहीं करेंगे, अगर किसी के दिमाग में ये है कि फर्स्ट आई विल स्टडी एवरीथिंग, then I'll join a test series and I'll write answer. The moment you will join to a test series, 3 महीना आपका केवल पिक करने में चला जाएगा कि I'll be able to write. But from the day one, I mean when you're starting your classes, you are into the practice, so this test series is going for a value addition. तब आप struggle minimum score के लिए नहीं करेंगे, तब you are looking for maximum score. That is why it is a kind of answer writing strategy. और सबसे बड़ी बात, लिखने से retention भी आपको बहुत अच्छा होगा. So reading, retention and writing. I found those who scored very high, most of the time 300, they were very much consistent after reading in retention and writing. अगर आप में से जिन लोगों ने GS का कर भी लिया हो, कर रहे हो, retention को face कर रहे होंगे, जिसको जो क्लासेस खत्म हो गई उसको रिटेन करें. इमेजिन करें कि आप लगातार उस पर आंसर लिख रहे हैं, आपको रिटेंशन की समस्या नहीं होने वाली. एंड इट इज नॉट, ये कीवर्ड मैं कह रहा हूं, ये कोई सेपरेटेड फेनोमेना नहीं है कि पढ़ अलग रहे हैं, रिटेन अलग कर रहे हैं और लिख अलग रहे हैं. ये तीनों डिसकनेक्टेड फेनोमेना नहीं है, तीनों एक ही फेनोमेना का पार्ट है. सो रीडिंग, रिटेंशन एंड राइटिंग, इट गोज हैंड इन हैंड. दिस इज नॉट समथिंग फर्स्ट आई विल रीड, then I'll mug up and retain and then I'll write. This is not going to work. That is why it should be part of the one single program. And as I said that I'll finish it in 5, max 5.5 months. Now, there is a one big challenge. Most of the students ask this, sir, we are taking PSIR. Should we read everyday article published in the newspaper? There is a everyday upgradation in international relations. So let me tell you in just one part. When we talk about foreign policy remain same for a longer period of time. Foreign policy rarely changes, or it changes with a period of time. मैं छोटा एक example दे रहा हूँ. जैसे if you talk about foreign policy designed by First Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, it continued till the Indira Gandhi came into power, and it was Indira Gandhi who has shifted or changed the foreign policy of Nehru. NAM के बारे में आज आप आज तक पढ़ते हो, और NAM की foreign policy नेहरू जी की डिजाइन की हुई है. हम आज पढ़ते हैं उसके रेलेवेंस के बारे में, पहले पढ़ते थे कंटेम्पररी टाइम में इंपॉर्टेंस के बारे में. इन ए सिमिलर वे, after Indira doctrine by 90s, we went for range of the foreign policy. जैसे मैं कुछ नाम लूं, lookist foreign policy. Still lookist foreign policy is perceived. That's initiated way back in 90s. Look west policy, 2005, still it is continuing look west foreign policy. इसको ऐसे समझ लेते हैं. If we are looking towards Iran, Saudi Arabia, are West Asian country for oil and energy, तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि फॉरेन पॉलिसी बदल जाएगी, अगली बार एनर्जी की जगह कुछ और हम देखने लगेंगे. दैट इज वाई फॉरेन पॉलिसी रिमेन कंसिस्टेंट फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. तो बदलता क्या है? मेथड्स टू परस्यू दैट फॉरेन पॉलिसी, दैट इज व्हाट कंसिस्टेंटली चेंजिंग. एज आई सेड दैट 5 years back also Indian Prime Minister visited to West Asian country. At that time we are trying to connect them with our soft power diplomacies. Maybe next time we are looking forward to consolidate our trade, we are offering something else. This is how we are consolidating. जैसे अपनी normal life में पहले आपने goal set किया, फिर उसके मीन्स सेट किए, तो गोल नहीं बदलता है, मतलब द फॉरेन पॉलिसी इज नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज, व्हाट चेंज दैट मीन्स, उसमें नई नई चीजें आती जाती हैं। एक और एग्जांपल आपको देता हूं, यू नो इंडियन फॉरेन पॉलिसी टुवर्ड्स यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका हैज चेंज बाय 2001 onwards, and still we are running in the same direction, but earlier we are consolidating our relationship with the US mainly through trades, but later on we add one more element, that is our defense relationship, that went further consolidation. तो बदलाव सिर्फ उसके मीन्स में आता है, तो आपको बेसिक्स में चेंज नहीं पढ़ना है। होता क्या है कि when a important visit is there and if they signed a deal which is completely with a new agenda, that makes sense. तो ये भी इसमें जरूरी नहीं होता कि हर एक इशू को हम लोग, मतलब हर एक विजिट को बहुत डिटेल में देखें। एक बार देखा पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा इसका ये है, नोट कर लिया, और आपको पहले से भी पता। जैसे मैं आपको अभी प्री हैंड बता रहा हूं, whenever we are going to visit China, whenever in next 10 year I am telling you, political agenda between India and China is going to be much focused on economic issues around international economic order. India and China is not going to cooperate in a strategic way. Strategic way, they are not going to cooperate. They may take up the talk related to the border dispute, otherwise not. It is fixed. If you're going any visit in West Asia, that is going to be focused on energy security, investment in India, terrorism. That is what the focal point between India and West Asia relationship. Anyone, आज के बाद भी जितने लोगों के विजिट हो, उनका कोर एजेंडा चेक करना, इसके बाहर नहीं मिलेगा आपको. And why it is so? Because these are the basics of the foreign policy. तो इस वजह से ये चेंज नहीं होता है. फिर भी student have this fear factor, कहीं कुछ मिस ना हो जाए. So we made an arrangement for this. Like I published every month a PSIR magazine. This PSIR, it's a PSIR magazine, not a general studies magazine. This PSIR magazine collect all important article published in the newspaper in last 1 month. And also we connect to the important international websites, like important websites related to international relations. Just say Observer is ORF, Observer is a foundation. Then IDSA is there, IPCS is there, ICWA is there. There are a lot of websites are there. We pick important articles. क्योंकि जब आप खुद इस वेबसाइट पे विजिट करोगे तो सबसे पहला सवाल पूछोगे, सर एक साथ 50 आर्टिकल होते हैं, कौन सा पढ़ना है? Visit करके देखना. This is the first question you are going to ask it. So in magazine, I identify these articles are the most important articles probable in your exam and it is required. अब अफ्रीका में सूडान क्राइसिस चल रही है, so सूडान क्राइसिस पे अगर आर्टिकल लिख दिया तो मैं तो आपसे नहीं कहूंगा कि ये ऑप्शनल में वाला नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि इंडियन अप्रोच ही अलग है. हाँ, जनरल स्टडीज के लिए वो काम आ सकता है सूडान क्राइसिस, ऑप्शनल के लिए वो नहीं आएगा. लेकिन द मूवमेंट वी विजिटेड टू द ईस्ट अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज एंड वी साइंड, यू कैन से, treaties with them in terms of supplying of arms, ammunition, joint military exercises. They agree to hold Indian bases over there. बिल्कुल मैं बोलूँगा 100% सवाल आने वाला है इस पर, because that is centrally focused in the Indian foreign policy. So for this purpose, as I said that कि किसी को न्यूज़पेपर PSIR के लिए पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं, जनरल स्टडीज के लिए जिस तरह देखना, वो रोज हर एक आर्टिकल पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं. दैट मैगजीन इज गोइंग टू बी sufficient. And the name of the magazine is Politico Analysis. गूगल पे भी सर्च करेंगे मिल जाएगी. वैसे क्लासरूम के स्टूडेंट के ग्रुप में हम उसको शेयर करते हैं एवरी मंथ जो पब्लिश होती है. और यूपीएससी जब आप मेंस लिखते हैं तो वे रिलीज मेंस ओरिएंटेड मैगजीन, लाइक इट विल IGP Mains 2023, IGP Mains 2000, IR Mains 2023. It will be focused on that. So that is going to complement all your preparation. देखिए, I mean, be into the service and score high is completely dependent on being strategic. Sometimes I say this and people get demoralized, but this is what the reality. Most of the students are good. They cleared their you can say graduation with good numbers. Hard working students are there, and almost similar material they are referring. So what makes someone into in and someone out of it? The strategy they follow, the time bound strategy they follow. That is what the key is. Otherwise, जितने आप talented हैं उतना दूसरा भी talented है. आप जितनी मेहनत कर रहे हैं वो दूसरे भी कर रहे हैं. So the major difference is not difference of the talent, the way you strategize and how consistent you are. So guys, this is from my side. If anyone is willing to ask any question, please go ahead. अगर कोई सवाल पूछना चाहता है कोई तो. मैगजीन थ्रू आउट द ईयर चलती रहती है, एंड दैट मैगजीन इज फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट टू एवरीवन. सो इट्स नॉट लाइक द मोमेंट यू फिनिश योर कोर्स मैगजीन बंद. ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं होगा. और जो लोग मुझे जानते हैं पहले से, आई एम ऑलवेज कनेक्टेड माई स्टूडेंट. अगर आप मेरे स्टूडेंट हैं तो कोर्स खत्म होने के बाद भी मुझसे बात कर सकते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि रिचार्ज खत्म बाद बंद. दिस इज नॉट लाइक दिस. ओके, यस, एनीथिंग एल्स? देखिए, पहले रिमेंबर करने वाली बात नहीं होती. मैं एक और बहुत अच्छा सवाल उन्होंने पूछा. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट दिस. अगर किसी को ये लगता है कि विल बी एबल टू स्कोर वेरी हाई इन पॉलिटिकल साइंस बिकॉज माय कैपेसिटी ऑफ मेमोराइजिंग इज वेरी हाई, देन आई वुड से इट इज अ मिथ. इट इज अ वेरी लॉजिकल सब्जेक्ट. व्हेन यू स्टडी अ थिंकर, वी आर नॉट स्टडिंग, वी आर नॉट मेमोराइजिंग देयर थॉट. ऑल देयर थॉट्स आर interlinked with every idea what they promote basically. So it's not like every and each thing you have to remember. You should have the capability to logically deduct many things. So that is why mugging is not an important thing. And once you clearly bracket them, जैसे when we study Aristotle and Plato, we know it is a Greek thinker. Their idea is focused on some specific areas like ideal state, justice, and then we identify. सीधा एरिस्टोटल प्लेटो के बाद आपके सिलेबस में हॉब्स लॉक रूसो है. मतलब टाइमलाइन में डिवाइड करूं, these two thinkers are before Christ and rest of the thinkers are with the rise of the modern era. इंडस्ट्रियल एरा के थोड़ा पहले से इनका काम स्टार्ट हो जाता. So their way of thinking and their way of thinking are entirely different basically. So it is easy to bracket them and logically connect them. मैं फिर से ये बात रिपीट कर रहा हूं. If someone thinks that good memorizing capacity will help you to qualify, that is true. But only depending on that is not going to work. It is a very logical subject. Those who can think in logical manner, जो रटना कम भी जानते हैं उनके लिए और अच्छा है. Specifically जो थोड़ा साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट और बेंट रखते हैं उनके लिए बहुत आसान है. भले हम इसको सोशल साइंस कहते हैं, लेकिन इसको तो पॉलिटिकल साइंस कहते हैं. साइंस जुड़ा हुआ है एंड देयर इज अ स्पेसिफिक रीजन फॉर दिस. इट इज अ वेरी लॉजिकल एंड वेल अरेंज्ड सब्जेक्ट. फॉर एवरी डायमेंशन ऑफ योर लाइफ इट हैज अ वे ऑफ थिंकिंग बेसिकली. हाँ, जो आर्टिकल्स नहीं इंक्लूडेड रहेंगे. आर्टिकल को पढ़ के उसका जिस्ट इंक्लूडेड रहेगा. तो अगर वो आर्टिकल पढ़ने लगेंगे तो फिर तो उसी दिन पढ़ लीजिए जिस दिन पब्लिश हुआ है. वो आर्टिकल पूरे नहीं रहते, उसके जिस्ट आपको पढ़ना होता है बेसिक. बिल्कुल ये मंथली मैगजीन है, हर महीने निकलती है. Okay, I mean like how much time you required every day after the class? At least 1 to 2 hours. At least 1 to 2 घंटे. तो देखिए, ज़्यादा एफर्ट करना पड़ता है पेपर 1 सेक्शन 1 के लिए. उसके बाद वाले पेपर्स में एफर्ट उतना कम करना पड़ता. अब अगर मैं आपको बीजेपी के बारे में पढ़ा रहा हूँ, उसके सोशल बेस के बारे में पढ़ा रहा हूँ, उसके नेशनल एजेंडा के बारे में पढ़ा रहा हूँ, तो आप घर जाके रिवाइज नहीं भी करेंगे, बहस करते हुए जाएंगे तो भी काम चल जाएगा. My point is this, कि the thing where you need to focus more, that is Western political thought basically and political theory. So you need to spend 2 hours, sometimes maybe 2.5 hours there. But for the rest of the part, even less than that, with the discussion, it will work. Okay, now again this is a very good question. Like how we write political science. Now, there is a one way of writing political science as we are describing our daily life. Ki Plato said this, Plato wake up early in the morning. So, technically, if we are writing the subject in that way, obviously your score is going to be relatively limited. I guess you all will agree with this idea that every subject has its language. If you are studying geography, so there is a geographical term. If you are studying economics, there is the economic terms, and you write that subject in their language, in their way. So how come when you are writing political science, so you are expecting to write in your daily life language? The key terms, and I would say the sentence formation should be in a standard political way. As I said that, if you are interested in 310, 315, तो इतनी मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. अदरवाइज जनरल लैंग्वेज में भी 250-60 मिल जाते हैं, लेकिन वो दैट इज नॉट अप टू द पार. हर सब्जेक्ट की अपनी लैंग्वेज होती है, इसकी भी अपनी लैंग्वेज है. Yes, and again that is why I said that if from the day one you are engaged in retention and writing, you are going to adopt. The major problem is that during our classroom program, students are not much interested in picking those things. वो बस समझ लेते हैं, उनको समझ में आ गया, उनको लगता है done. But समझना is just one aspect of this. If you are going to be regular, then you are going to develop that language also. Sometimes मेरे साथ उल्टा होता है, मैं घर में जब नॉर्मल बात करता हूँ तो भी उसमें पॉलिटिकल साइंस के टर्म आ जाते हैं. तो उन लोगों को लगता है, अब मान लीजिए कोई मुझे ज़्यादा काम वाम बता रहा है, मैं कहता हूँ मेरी सॉवरेंटी को इनक्रोच कर रहे हो आप लोग. सो इट गोज इन ए डिफरेंट वे. सो थोड़ा अगर आप लोग इन होंगे, इट इज ऑटोमेटिकली गोइंग टू चेंज योर बिकॉज यू आर स्टार्टिंग एंड द पर्पज इज टू क्वालिफाई. तो कम से कम 1 साल तक तो हम सब्जेक्ट की लैंग्वेज को पिक कर सकते हैं. Okay, now this question is that this is the same thing what I was talking earlier. You are clear about the concept, you know what Plato has said, but you are not able to write it. That is why I said this, this answer writing is a regular component. I bet for this, if you write answer on Plato 3 times, and if you check, किसी को दिखाने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, if you check your first answer and third answer, yourself is going to notice the improvement in this. Because after writing first, you think अच्छा ये वाला point miss हो गया, इसको मैंने अगली बार आप उसको include करके लें. That is why I said that. Reading and knowing is just one aspect of this. Because in the examination they will test you. आप ये नहीं लिख दिया आंसर, उसके नीचे लिखा मैं और भी बहुत कुछ जानता हूँ. That is not going to work basically. You need to write it over there to prove that you know it basically. So what you know, it will be expressed through writings. That is why writing is the key. Got my point? So knowing is not enough. The practice has to be there. Fine guys? Again, although I answered it, you will finish our course by October. So how till writing mains you will be able to connect it? So should I continue till April? I'm just joking. हाँ, उसका मतलब ये होता कि अगर आप लगातार पढ़ रहे हैं और आपने सब्जेक्ट को एक बार अच्छे से पढ़ लिया, आंसर राइटिंग के थ्रू चीज़ों को रिवाइज कर लिया, तो अगर आप उसको फरवरी तक भी थोड़ा थोड़ा फ्लिप करते हैं तो आप कनेक्टेड रहेंगे. दिक्कत तब होती है कि आपने उसको ठीक से नहीं पढ़ा और फरवरी में अगर आप पढ़ने जाएंगे तो वो एक टॉपिक आपसे 1 घंटा लेगा, लेकिन आपने ऑलरेडी पढ़ा है, प्रैक्टिस किया हुआ है, तो वो एक टॉपिक आपका 15 मिनट लेगा. तो दैट इज easy to do it. Let me tell you guys, there are a lot of students who are quite good in prelims, they believe they clear, वो दिसंबर में आकर टेस्ट सीरीज करने के लिए कहते हैं and they write their mains answer up to अप्रैल और में. मैं ये स्ट्रैटेजी बिल्कुल सजेस्ट नहीं करता हूँ. What I believe that you prepare your answer pre-hand. So revision time automatically get reduced at the fast pace. So when you are going to revise your subject, suppose topic of Plato is there, you have already learned it, you have already written answer on it. So even after the 3 months you are going to revise, it is going to take less time. लेकिन अगर आपने आंसर राइटिंग नहीं की है, ठीक से आपको याद नहीं है, तो लगेगा उतना ही टाइम लेगा जितना हमने क्लास में दिया. It is not all about that कि we should leave our optional completely. Every time we should reduce the time of the revision. We should reduce the time of the revision. So even जैसे जब लोग मार्च में मतलब they enter into the March and somebody says should I see the optional, मैं कहूँगा भाई हफ्ते में एक बार प्लेटो के साथ 10 मिनट बैठ जाओ, टेक्निकली it will help you. Just flip it, दिमाग से जाएगा नहीं वो, you will be always feeling getting connected. नहीं, आंसर राइटिंग तो आप दिसंबर, जनवरी, फरवरी इसके बाद आंसर राइटिंग में एंगेज नहीं हो सकते. दिक्कत यही होती है ना कि आप आंसर राइटिंग शुरू से नहीं करते हैं. If you are going to engage in answer writing initially, then the later part में वो burden नहीं आने वाला. बहुत सारे बच्चे ऐसे भी मिलते हैं, सर ये मेरा पहला आंसर राइटिंग आंसर है जो मैंने लिखा हुआ है, कोर्स कब किया था, 1 साल पहले किया था. It's like going back again to the course. That is not going to work. That is what I'm saying. Be little bit disciplined in your preparation. अदरवाइज इसका कोई शॉर्टकट नहीं हो सकता. मतलब पढ़ना पड़ेगा ही, लिखना पड़ेगा ही, रिटेन करने पड़ेगा ही. और मैं इन प्रोसेस को तेज कर सकता हूं. आई कैन बिकम कैटलिस्ट. जो लोग साइंस के होंगे समझ रहे होंगे. I can't write it basically. I can play the role of being a catalyst here. I'll help you to revise it, memorize it, write it in answer writing. ये मेरा रोल हो सकता है. बाकी काम तो आपको ही करना है basically. Done? तीन कंट्रीज. हाँ हाँ, तो इजराइल, ईरान, सऊदी अरेबिया. मैं ये कह रहा था कि किसी साल ज्यादा विजिट हो गई, प्रधानमंत्री जी 4-5 बार चले गए तब. अदरवाइज दीज आर द 3 प्लेस्ड. हाँ हाँ, यूएस हो गया, जापान हो गया, 2 कंट्री वहां हो गई. ताइवान नहीं है. इंडिया ताइवान आज तक नहीं पूछा, आगे भी नहीं पूछेगा. इंडिया चाइना ओनली. यूरोप में भी नहीं पूछता है. इंडिया फ्रांस भी नहीं, इंडिया डेनमार्क भी नहीं. ओनली इंडिया एंड यूरोप. इंडिया रशिया चेक कर लीजिए. दिस इज व्हाट द होलिस्टिक. तो अब इतने ही पढ़ना, और ये भी हमको पता है कि किसके साथ क्या पढ़ना है. व्हेन यू आर डीलिंग विद द इंडिया एंड चाइना, वी नो व्हाट इज गोइंग टू बी अवर कोर एजेंडा. When you are dealing with India and Iran, we are knowing what is going to be core agenda. When studying about India and Israel, we are knowing about the core agenda. So that is all everywhere. तो आपको बेसिकली वो आर्टिकुलेशन समझना है. पहले तो उसका बेसिक जान लेना है, एंड देन यू नो दैट कि ओके दिस इज व्हाट द कोर एरिया, हाउ वी शुड आर्टिकुलेट दैट वी कैन फ्रेम अ वेरी गुड आंसर विच इज इन फ्लो. दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव टू स्टडी. No, if somebody is interested in reading any book, then I would say that rather than needing my printed notes, read a book, because printed book is already is a compilation of the gist of many standard books. तो वो 3-4 जगह करने की जरूरत नहीं है बेसिकली. जैसे अगर आप कोई किताब पढ़ लेंगे भी, फिर भी कोई आपको बोलेगा वो वाली किताब पढ़ते तो ज्यादा सही था, फिर आप उस पर स्विच करेंगे. सो दिस इज व्हाट द सॉल्यूशन वी मेड. समबडी से कि स्टडी ओपी गाबा, फिर कोई कहेगा नहीं ब्रायन नेल्सन पढ़ लो वेस्टर्न पॉलिटिकल थॉट के लिए. आई मीन ब्रायन नेल्सन इज गुड, ओपी गाबा इज गुड. देयर इज अ डिफरेंट ऑफ टेस्ट एंड अ स्टैंडर्ड. वी इनकॉर्पोरेटेड इट बोथ ओवर देयर. Somebody in IR will tell you, and for IR I'm telling you, there is no one single book which complete every and each topic of your syllabus. For every area you need to find a different set of book. उतना पढ़ा नहीं जा सकता है. तो उतना पढ़ना है तो फिर 2-3 साल का या पंचवर्षीय योजना बनानी पड़ेगी. So here we have to target. That's why I ask 24 वाले कितने हैं. So then you need to be focused. If it is 24, then you cannot take this chance to read any of the book. The material what I am referring, class notes, magazine, that is more than enough. ये जो अभी मैंने अपनी मैगजीन की बात की, एक लाइन मैंने कहा कि देयर विल बी यूपीएससी स्पेशल एडिशन. So when I'm publishing UPSC special edition for 2024, so what is going to incorporate? This is what they are going to incorporate, everything. What is important for that area? You can get it directly from there. This I understand ki what problem a student face. नहीं देखिए, ये मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि दिस इज समथिंग. अब ऐसा तो मैं नहीं कर सकता कि बाकी लोग को नहीं दूं भाई इन्हीं को दूं, ये तो नहीं हो सकता है. देखिए ये इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं होता है. व्हेन इट कम टू द फैक्ट्स पार्ट, फैक्ट सबका अलग अलग थोड़ी होगा कि सबको 5 बताया तुमको 4 बताया, कहा यही वाला सही है. दिस इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी हैपन. देखिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ फैक्ट्स एवरीबडी इज गोइंग टू राइट द सेम फैक्ट. अपने से ऊपर नीचे थोड़ी फैक्ट करोगे. नाउ व्हेन इट कम टू द कॉन्सेप्ट, द students practice matter a lot. How you form, how you write. I'm telling you, I'm taking the same lecture and I'm going to ask same question to everyone, and everyone is going to write differently that answer. So maybe you are going to write the name of the book of Plato. Everyone is going to write the same, but the answer, entire answer is not going to be the same. You'll find your capability over there. The way you frame answer, fluency in your answer, how first line is connected with the second line, this is what you have to do. So don't look for some hidden material. I'm telling you, किसी ऐसे hidden super material की तलाश मत कीजिए. ये normal चीजें जो हम पढ़ते हैं, इसको अपने तरीके से अच्छे से लिखिए, नंबर आ जाएगा. और ऐसा नहीं कि यूपीएससी मान के चलते कि एक को दे दिया तो दूसरे को नहीं देंगे. There is no such trend of the UPSC. If 2 people write good answers, both are going to get marks. लोकसभा की सीट नहीं है ये. Yes. Nothing. Normally, I publish whatever the important article, whatever the important document is published by Government of India. But what is important for PSIR, ऐसा नहीं है कि जो PSIR के लिए important है वो मैगजीन में हम लोग आराम से दे देते हैं. मटेरियल, मैंने आपसे कहा मटेरियल आपको कम नहीं पड़ेगा. आपको जो कम पढ़ने वाला है वो आपका टाइम और आपकी मेहनत, जहां आपको ज्यादा फोकस करना है बेसिकली. डन. चलिए, क्लास की टाइमिंग 3 बजे से 3 to 5:30. 15th of June we are going to start it. Thank you to all of you.